Well, I think you'd have to start by saying it is a great week to be a Spartan. And, I guess I'd like to live off our football a little bit from the standpoint of, our 9-0 start and what they've done. I think we've both kind of earned our keep, and that's kind of the way it is and the way it's been. And what I've enjoyed is we've played a schedule good enough, and we have enough players that have been on big stages that I think we can maybe learn from what they're doing and seeing what we've done and figure that we're both kind of walking in similar territory. Non-entitlement is probably the best word for our team. I think we realize we've got to earn and get everything, and that's a good thing to have. 9-0 start, it's hard to believe it's second highest in my era. I don't know if that's good news or bad news. It's probably bad news, but that we've only had that one other time, and yet I don't even know where to tell you we are right now. I still think we have a lot of room to grow. I think with the injuries, we're still trying to find ourselves with Marvin Clark or even a Kenny Goins, and definitely with Schilling still out. So I like where we've got a chance to get. I like where we're at. I don't love where we're at. I think we're still got some guys that are struggling a little bit, and we're trying to figure out who would fit best with who. I'm not sure where we'll be in the polls. That seems to be a topic of conversation right now. Trust me when I say this, I'm proud of what we've accomplished so far, but watching the football Final Four yesterday, realizing in the last 2 years where some people were ranked at the beginning of the year and where they ended up, it has no bearing on things. But I am proud that, we've played a better schedule than normal. And we've always played a pretty good one, but we played a lot of pretty good teams early, and we've probably done something we haven't done in other years, and that's the travel has been brutal. And so, players have learned how to focus on that. Did not call Calipari to borrow those 40-0 shirts. I'm not looking at this season as anything we're doing that's perfect. I'm looking that we still got to take it one game at a time and get better. I felt like the last couple games we've gotten better in a couple areas, but we haven't been as solid defensively. Last game we were, but I don't know if that was half them. I think we got to improve in that area, and I think we still have to maybe improve our shooting with certain guys, and we've been working on that. We've finally got a chance to practice Sunday. We're actually off today. We'll get a chance to practice tomorrow. So that's 2 full practice days, which hasn't happened in a couple of weeks as far as us working on ourselves a little bit more than I'd like to. So I think that is going to help us tremendously. I think I talked earlier about winning. I'm excited that at the end of the week, this week, we're going to honor our 2000 team. Last year just didn't work out as much as far as trying to get people back. I think we're going to have just about everybody back, and they'll return for our game against Florida, which is ironically the team we beat in the Final Four. I think what it does for me is it makes me realize and remember that those are the guys that built my part of this great tradition here. And players coming back continues to be the best part of my job. So hopefully somehow we can play well on Wednesday and play well on Saturday and get a chance to enjoy the guys that really laid the foundation for what we've accomplished. So the Big Ten is, I think getting back to a little more solid here. A couple teams have had some upsets, but I think you're seeing teams like Iowa starting to really improve, and Purdue has, and I think Michigan's catching its wind a little bit, and it's going to get to the point where there'll be a lot of good teams. Maryland is still very, very good. So all I'm looking forward now is in these last 4 games, can we continue to maybe get better instead of plateauing like I thought we did there for a little stretch, and get better on our offensive and defensive end with some practice time, and that's what the next 4 games will be like before we start practice or the Big Ten season.
Two-part. The way the schedule kind of lays out, will you make it down to the Cotton Bowl?
It's going to be tough. We are looking into a couple things, but we play on the 29th, I think we play on the 29th at Iowa, and then we play on the 2nd in Minneapolis. So it kind of all depends on a lot of different things, and whether I could actually take my team with the new rules, whether I could do something like that. And, I'm looking into it. Of course, my AD is looking into everything, but we're not going to jeopardize anything that we could accomplish. But I do think that no matter what I do, if we do something, it will be done probably as much for my team as anybody else. I do think, as I watched that game and saw the end of it and thought of my team being able to sit there in the same corner they did a couple years ago and see that last play, what Mark has done for me and what I think I've done for him is we've helped build a culture in general around here where it doesn't matter if we're a 7 seed last year or 4 seed the year before, other years, you still get the Final Fours, it doesn't matter. Same for them. And I think seeing your counterparts accomplish great things is a benefit to you. So when I say it can be team building, if I could do it, it could also be a way of our players to look at, what they have to do to accomplish their goals. So if I can, I will. And if I do and I lose the first game or lose the second game, it'll have nothing to do with that. I'll be making the decision more on do I think it's going to help our team in the long run and still be able to give some support to theirs.
Second question, Gavin, I know you were kind of thinking the possibility maybe Oakland, Northeastern being back, but with Big Ten play looming and wanting to shorten your bench, you keep mentioning it, is it better now for sooner rather than later a little bit?
Oh, it definitely would be better for sooner. Unfortunately, his foot is like yours. It's not cooperating, it's, I see you got that thing off, so maybe you are cooperating. But, this is totally, I told you, of all the injuries, as far as ones that can linger, this is one of the worst. Broken bone, it heals, it doesn't heal, whatever. So we're just not going to take any chances on that. We got to get it done so something doesn't happen and it lingers then for another month. But it is uncomfortable for me because I want to get him some reps before the Big Ten. I see how it is for Marv having 9 weeks off, and it's hard to come back. I see how it was for Kenny there early on. It's hard. JB, is still recovering from just not being in the action. Gavin, thank God he played so well this summer, but he's missed quite a bit of time now, and how long that'll take to get back. I'd like to get him back before Big Ten time. I'd like to get him back this week if I could, but he is out of the boot. He is shooting a little. He's throwing some jump hooks, things like that. It's made some progress, but I'm guessing a good week yet, maybe 10 days, but he is doing a little better than I thought. And if we can get him back, the fastest we can get him back will be done that way. Whatever it is, that doesn't jeopardize any chance of him re-injuring it. That's the way I'll try to handle it.
Tom, after Saturday, you came in here and talked about how after you went to the title game, you're going to come back, push your guys to have the hardest practice of the season yet yesterday. So just can you elaborate on how that went, how the team responded to it?
Well, we did. We had a good hard practice, but maybe more educational one. We just hadn't worked on our offense in so long, and I thought it was getting sloppy. The screening wasn't good. The slips, there was just some things that we were doing that I really wasn't real fond of. Sometimes we got away with it. Our break, I thought there were so many things that we could shore up, tighten up a little bit is what we needed to do. We were getting a little sloppy, and it wasn't their fault. It was more our schedule and just the fact that when we did have a day we were always working on the next opponent, never working on ourselves. So we went at it. We actually got to play the war drill, a couple of rebounding drills a little bit. We actually got to break down and go through our offense and our things defensively that we wanted to accomplish. We got to run our offense and still work on Maryland Eastern Shore. So, it was a good, hard, not lengthy, but, a couple hours. But it was, I think even the players enjoyed the fact that we got to do some things to try to, show them where we maybe we're having some slippage. And I think that'll benefit us. We have to be off today because you have to take the day off. Make sure players are resting. And then we'll go at it tomorrow and be ready for Wednesday. And then I'll have 2-day prep for Florida.
Tom, if you guys do get the number one ranking here in a couple hours, what's kind of the mindset you hope your players approach to that to be able to make the best of it?
I got a little text from Day last night saying, hey, if you do, make sure you step on the guys, because one other time it wasn't as good. I think we're to the point now, as I said, about this culture around here where if a football or basketball team is ranked real high, we've been through enough where we don't look at that as it's the first time in the history of the world, but I'm proud of what we've done. We've earned what we've gotten. Whatever we're ranked, we've earned it because we've played a tough enough schedule with enough travel, with enough adversity. Do I think we're the best team in the country right now? No, I don't. Do I think there's anybody head and shoulders better than us right now? No, I don't. I think right now there's a lot of teams in the same. What I hope my team does is appreciate the work that went into getting where we are and taking that and building on it. And, the old adage about a coach is that he's never satisfied. Great players are never satisfied. That's what separates, I think, the good ones from the great ones. And we know that, as I said, I watched the football thing yesterday, and we understand that teams that weren't even ranked, we were a 7 seed last year. And, we got to a Final Four. Ohio State wasn't even in until the last second last year, and they win the national championship. But I do think there's a respect factor that your program gets, and there's more positives than negative. If I'm worried at this point in my career, meaning my career with Michigan State, the culture we've built, that we can't handle some success, then we deserve to be ranked high, get beat, and start over again and how to do it, because that would be the most disappointing thing if some knucklehead tweeted out something or just didn't handle it right. I'm hoping we handle it as if we're 1, 2, or 3, we're taking business in our own hands. We realize that we got a big game on Wednesday, and it's a big week, and it's a week to get better, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So if we do, I'll embrace it. And if we do embrace it, I'll really need our players to embrace it and try to build on it and prove everybody right.
Following up on that, Tom, what about just being undefeated and in terms of the opponents as well? If you're number one, if you're undefeated, do you get a benefit or payoff from the way other teams approach you at some point in the season?
That's a good question, because I would have said yes, a lot of times, just like we got the home court advantage over, when we won 53 in a row, everybody'd come in. But I think this day and age, there's more parity than there used to be. So I think, like Mark D'Antonio went through a little bit, you go from the hunter to the hunted. And so I think the disadvantage is everybody's going to get their best shot. Can we be the one to be their first loss? Can we be the one to knock off a top 5 team? That's how people sometimes make their seasons. So you got to be pretty solid and pretty grounded if you're going to handle success, whatever that success is. And I'm hoping and thinking that with a leader like Denzel, who's been in a Sweet 16 and Elite Eight, a Final Four, when he's watched his football team be in 3 major bowl games, his college career has been pretty good. If there's ever a guy who can sit there and tell those other guys in the locker room or in the hotel rooms what it's really all about, it's Zell. So I'm going to lean on him and Matt and Kobe and those guys a little more than normal in that respect.
Tom, you just talked about Matt Costello. You've also talked earlier in the year about how he's been mentoring a lot of the younger guys. What's it been like to have a guy like Matt around your program for the past 4 years?
Well, Matt is as solid as they get, and I think sometimes I want him to be more than just solid. He's got some skills. He can shoot the ball. He's pretty good with his hook shot. I think Matt needs to continue to build his confidence. And, we got to help him on that. And sometimes that's good and bad. But when you're a senior, I think we should be even getting more out of Matt right now. And especially with Schilling out. But at the same time, he's done for Didi and the other bigs like a guy like Suton did for Dede and Delvon Rowe. I mean, he's just kind of taking him under his wing. He helps him every day. He helps explain things. Kobe has done a great job of that. I tell Didi every day, you're lucky. You're lucky because you're having guys help you and you're taking some of their minutes. And that doesn't happen all the time. And probably of all the things I respect about Matt, having the leadership skills to do that are special to me, and I'm proud of him for that. But I think you're going to see his game's going to improve a little bit more too. I think he, as soon as we get this doggone rotation down, I don't think it's helping anybody. We had a big meeting today about it, and Dwayne Stevens said it best, Coach, it's just too early. I mean, we can't see what Marv can do. He just got back, and then we were on this wicked road trip, and so somebody's going to have to earn it in practice, and I'm glad to know that Matt Costello is a guy that helps those guys learn and earn in practice.
I just want to go back to the ranking for a sec. You were at that spot just 2 years ago in 2013 to get back there with pretty much a different group. I mean, is that satisfying in some ways?
Now that you say it, it is. It really is, because it is a lot different group. We lost 3 guys that have had a little stint in the NBA, 4 guys maybe. I think it tells you that we're getting more consistent. Our consistency is getting more towards the top and not just good. You don't get ranked 1, and you don't stay in the top 10, and you don't do those things unless you're consistently good. It's again, I'm not going to keep using every football analogy, but I do love the fact that when I look at last year's thing, we were right there. We were maybe one of those 2 teams just out as they're learning how to use this basketball terminology in football. We've finally taken those helmet heads a little longer, but those guys are realizing that last one in, last one out, Final Fours, Elite Eight game was down in Indianapolis. I like the terminology, but I do feel good about our program being in a position where we can throw in different people and get the same kind of results. Now, can we sustain that ranking? Can we, whatever it is, can we sustain being a top 5 team? That'll be the next thing for us, about reaching for something higher than we've had.
I just wanted to follow up on that. From the other side, being that you were once beating Arkansas, that was barely in the top 25, was once a big deal for you and a kind of a lifting moment for your program. Do you, I don't know, empathize is the right word, but do you kind of understand where the other team is coming from when you're on the court, when you're ranked? Has that helped you in any way?
Well, yeah, I have been on the other end now. I've been on the other end in a lot of areas. And I think it makes me appreciate it. So it's why you have reunions. It's why you have guys coming back. It's why Thomas Kelly here helps me right now. That's why David Thomas here helps me right now, because every once in a while when I say, well, I practice a little hard, maybe guys are a little tired, those guys are sitting back there laughing. And Austin Thornton's sitting there, well, why are you laughing? Oh, this is nothing compared to what we went through, Keeping some balance, keeping some perspective, making me realize that, we were one of those teams that was doing all the hunting, not that many years ago. And I do tell them that. I say, hey, this is going to be the biggest game of the year for them. And this is the way they can make their season. And they're going to play at a different level. I think because of AAU ball and all that things, I don't think guys are intimidated like they used to be, because they've already played against good people a lot. I do use that, and I don't forget where you came from, because it's going to come back, and I make sure I don't forget where I came from.
Two-part question. First, Tum Tum told me that they don't anticipate it healing this season at all, and so he has to just be extremely careful. He's not able to do extra. I'm curious, do you alter how much you use him in practice so as not to aggravate it, so he's there for the game?
Boy, that is something we haven't, talked about much, because he is such a dynamic, tough kid. I mean, he doesn't even winch in practice, and yet he's wearing his boot, whatever hours in the day other than the 2 hours of practice and the 2 hours of the game, he's in a boot. And I've had plantar fasciitis myself, and there's different levels and degrees of it, but it is painful. Adrian Payne missed, 8 games with it. But I haven't done anything in practice yet. We've made sure that we've done everything outside of it. Not that I'm limiting in games. We're going to take a look at it, over the holidays. Is there anything we can do? But you're right, or he's right, and, it might linger on. And it has hurt his shooting, because I'm telling you guys so that you can appreciate what he did, not what we did. That kid worked so hard, and he was shooting the ball well. And he hasn't spent an extra hour in here because they won't let him. And it's hurt him some. But I was looking today, he's got 40 assists and 6 turnovers. He's one of the best in the whole country. He pushes the ball. He defends everybody. The average shooting or poor shooting it's in everybody's mind. It's in my mind. But you don't see me changing him much as far as taking him out, because I know why he struggled a little bit, and I also know how many good things he gives us. And this kid won't go down as the greatest player to ever play here, but he may end up the greatest leader, the hardest worker, the toughest, the best teammate. I don't know. If he doesn't get anywhere after here, he might have a job with me for life.
Secondly, Tom, we've seen you with teams that were winning and doing well like you are now, and it was miserable for you. You seem to be thoroughly enjoying this, and not just the 9-0, but being around the team, the entire aspect. Is that you maturing as a coach to stop and enjoy it more, or is it the team that's bringing that out in you?
I'd say it's 20-80. 20% I'm matured, not any more than that. Asked a lot of people. I haven't matured that much. So that'd be 20%, but 80%. I mean, I'll bet you everybody in this room enjoys being around our guys. I mean, if we got a jerk, the guys will get rid of him, And so it's been a fun team. I mean, we're going to have some ups and downs yet. We're just not as talented as the 4 or 5 teams that everybody knows. We knocked off one that really is and has depth in Kansas, and they may be the best team in the country right now. But they're very good, and but we got the best chemistry of. I'll say it's as good as anybody in the country, and I feel comfortable saying that. Yeah, I've enjoyed this team. They've worked really hard. The frustration I'm having now is more with me than my team, and a little bit with the injuries. If you have a season-ending injury, it's easier because you know what you got, and you go from there. When it's one that could be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and you're trying to piece in a guy and trying to get some guys' experience, and it makes it more difficult. And you've always seen, for the most part, those of you that know me, I've had a pretty much of a standard first half. I go in with a pro mentality of this guy's going to play at this time. And DJ said to me today, man, we should go over and talk to our hockey coach because we're hockey substituting right now, and it's all but on the run. And some of it's good, but most of it makes it a little harder on the players too. But I say this, and I blame myself. It's not my fault. It's not their fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just the cards we're dealt right now and what we got to do. And the fact is, some of it's nobody's fault with injuries. It's guys have been pretty even. So some of the reason they've been even is because some were out a period of time with injuries, and I thought they would step up a little bit, and I think they still will. That's why I really like our ceiling level a lot more than I like where we are right now. And we got to make sure we continue to do that. I think the Italian trip did help us some with this team, and maybe brought us along a little better. But we got a long way to go to be a really, really contender team. And but I think we have the people to do it, and I'm enjoying the ride right now. And it's not because we're 9-0. I'm enjoying practices. That has nothing to do with what you are, because I got good guys that work, and when you got leaders like Tom and Zell and Matt and guys like that, it makes it easier. Our freshmen have been just great to deal with, and I'm a lucky coach right now, but one loss and that can change, as we all know. But I think we have handled some adversity too, the adversity of injuries, the adversity of travel. We've handled some adversity and stuck by it pretty quick, but losses are the ultimate adversity, as we all know, and we'll see what happens as we move forward.
I had like a 5-part question. I don't know.
Okay, part one?
I'm just kidding. A lot of sarcasm today. Playing a little bit off the handling the ranking success, all that. You playing teams like Binghamton last weekend, a team Wednesday that might not be ranked as high. When you have a group like this who's been through a Texas Southern last year, how much of that is part of the growth of this team and understanding that if you don't come every game, those sort of things happen, and how much that builds to what you have now?
Well, that's what I say. It's been so. People ask me why I like football. People ask me why I'm telling you, it's the learning thing from them too on games that you thought they'd blow somebody out and they didn't, and being able to say the next day in a meeting, it's always better when you're talking about at home. That's what I think has been nice for Mark D'Antonio and myself. We've been able to use each other's success and failures isn't always in losses. How you played, what you did, how you deal with things, and we have used Texas Southern. We have used some things from football. We have used some of our past experiences. Just the other day I brought up the Wright State game. That was because we were talking about our championship team, and you remember those days. And I think that's where Denzel might have a little bit of an edge over most, because he was almost here through all that. He was just born then, but scary to think of that. But a couple years old. But he's been through it all, and he's listened to it from his dad. So I think he has an appreciation. He is a football fan, so he watches that. That's why I like to engage my guys. That's why I would have just died to take my team down there, to see them win a championship and, an Elite Eight game, and maybe Mark D'Antonio used some of ours last year when we won one, we were in the same boat. So I use those things. I don't dwell on them, but they're in my mind. I pull them out when I need them. That's what experience does for you, or age, or both.
Tom, just wondering if you talked to Saban since yesterday's announcement.
I didn't. He's the enemy now. No, I didn't. And I know, knowing playing Tom Crean and different things, it's a difficult part of it. But when you get this far and deep, all you worry about is your own team. I'm sure that's what Mark's worried about. I'm sure that's what Nick's worried about. And, it should be I like the matchup for us because there's not a lot of change. It's a Big Ten team in the SEC, so we'll see what happens. But, no, haven't talked to Nick. Yay, round table.